Hey guys, I'm Ala. Today we'll be talking about monetary policy and all things that apply to it, so keep watching. The first thing we'll be talking about is contractionary and expansionary monetary policy. With expansionary policy, this is what central banks use in order to stimulate the economy. In this case, government spending would increase and taxes would decrease. With contractionary policy, this is used to fight inflation, and government spending would decrease where taxes would increase. The monetary multiplier is the amount of money that banks create with each dollar of reserves. The formula for this would be 1 divided by required reserves. Excess reserves are capital reserves held by a bank. This is done to provide a certain measure of safety. The formula for this will be required reserves minus demand deposits. Required reserve is the minimum that is set for the amount of reserves that must be held by a commercial bank. An example would be 5% or 10%. Most banks today use 10%. A demand deposit is a fund that is held in an account that can be withdrawn at any time. An open market operation is when the Fed buys or sells government bonds. This is the most important and widely used monetary policy. Now we're going to discuss the difference between a single bank and a commercial banking system. With commercial banks, they manage deposit accounts such as checking and savings accounts, and they make loans to the public using money held on deposit. A single bank, however, creates its money by the amount of excess reserves. In order to calculate the expansion of money for a commercial bank, this will be ER times MM, which is the excess reserve multiplied by the money multiplier. When dealing with certain problems, you always want to keep in mind that when cash is deposited into a checking account, there will be no immediate change in money supply. However, if the Fed purchases bonds from the public and deposit into a checking account, there will be an immediate increase in the money supply. Lastly, we are going to discuss the federal fund rate. This is the interest rate at which banks or credit unions lend reserve balances to other depository institutions overnight. Now for an example. Assume that a bank receives a cash deposit of $9,000 from a customer. What is the immediate impact of this transaction on the money supply? The key word in this scenario is that a bank is receiving a cash deposit of $9,000. As I discussed earlier, we know that when money is deposited into a bank, there's no immediate change in the money supply. Therefore, scenario A will be no immediate change. Scenario B. Suppose that a reserve requirement is 10% and banks voluntarily add an additional 10% in reserves. Calculate each of the following. The key word here is that there is a 10% reserve requirement and an additional 10% in reserves. So our new total reserve requirement would be 20%. Scenario B1 is asking for the excess reserves. The key word in this problem is the maximum amount by which this bank will increase its loans. In order to find the ER, you are going to take the required reserve, which is 20%, and you are going to move the decimal up to the front, and you're going to multiply it by 9,000, which is the DD, the demand deposit. And if you multiply this in the calculator, you will get 1,800. After that, you're going to take the total that you get here, and you're going to subtract it from your DD. So this will be 9,000 minus 1,800, and your total of that will be 7,200. Therefore, your ER is equal to $7,200. For scenario B2, what is the maximum increase in the money supply that will be generated from the transaction in part A? Here they're asking us the maximum increase in the money supply. So in this case, we'll be using the equation for the banking system, which is the excess reserves multiplied by the money multiplier. In order to find the money multiplier, you will do 1 divided by the required reserves, which is 0.20, and that will give you 5. Then you're going to take the number 5 and you're going to multiply it by the excess reserves, which we found in scenario B1, and you will get a total of $36,000. And this is going to be the maximum increase in the money supply. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found some useful tips. Thanks for watching.